So again, this idea that if our natural state is to be free, that's not just true for adults. It's also true for kids, for teenagers and preteens and 5-year-olds and 1-year-olds. Everyone wants that feeling of freedom. And when we have, and we discussed this in the earlier part of the text, when we have someone who is kind of at the power end of a relationship and has that, they do have that influence and they can exercise it, constantly telling us, do this, don't do that, function this way, don't function that way, etc., it becomes very oppressive. It becomes a burden. Right? The fundamental principle of education is that knowledge is taken, it is not given. And again, with all the, what did he say here? With all concern and care for their children. So when parents are giving that unwanted advice, again, it's not that they're trying to do anything negative. They're trying with all their care and concern to educate the children on what they need to know. If you're going to be online, you need to know these things. If you're going to go out and meet with your friends and strangers, you need to know these things. When you dress a certain way, you're looked at a certain way, you need to learn this. You're trying to educate. The problem is you can't educate someone who doesn't want to listen. It's not possible. Again, what we've said is the best that you can hope for is to be ignored. Usually there's an outright rejection. You don't want me to do that? Okay, I'll do that. It's pretty natural. And so this is why I see children suffer the most, because they don't have the stature or the status or the understanding to push back. When you're riding on your spouse's back with do's and don'ts, it's you leave me alone. Who do you think you are telling me what to do? You can say that to your spouse. Leave me alone. You can't say it to your parents when you're 13, 14, 15 years old. Some kids can. Right, but that doesn't help things. That just creates the tension more. How do you talk to me that way? How can you speak like this to your parents? This sort of idea. So because they lack that position to be able to properly engage and dissent, it's a constant sense of suffering, constant sense of oppression. And so what do? He says, as soon as they can, leave home. I know someone, and I know more than one person, who chose their university because of the distance from the family home. There was one guy in particular I know. He wanted, whatever he wanted, I can't remember what he wanted to study. He could have studied it say an hour and a half away. Too close. He went to university, it was an 8-hour drive, say. That was the one he chose, because he knew, don't want visits on weekends. He wanted to get distance as much as he could. So there's this, it's kind of an unpleasant thought if you're a parent. My children are just waiting till they're old enough to leave home because of me, The good side of it is that we understand what the cause is. That sense of attachment, of wanting something from the relationship. I want my child to follow my footsteps. I want my child to know what I know. I want my child to learn what I have learned. It's good that you want the child to function in a healthy way, but it's bad when you become dependent upon that. So that idea of selfishness or attachment, it's a dependency. So again, it's the question of what does the person actually need? Because we're not stopping to ask that question. We're not functioning with that intellectual boundary between what the mind throws up and what comes out of our mouth. Another example that we've used, this is not related to this, but it highlights what I'm talking about. One person I know who admitted that he had a problem with, telling his family members what to do. All adults, like brothers and brothers-in-law, etc. And he said, I've got this real problem that I'm real judgmental about what my family's choices and their lifestyles and the things they're doing. I said, that is not your problem. By all means, be as judgmental as you like, but just do it inside your head. That guy's wasting his time, wasting his life, Fine, have your opinion. Who cares? No one cares about your opinion. But don't let your opinion tumble out of your mouth. That's the difference, is knowing what the person needs to know is different from knowing whether or not you should tell them. And so the intellect is this buffer. Right? It comes into my head. Am I going to say it? Why would I say it? Does it need to be said? What's likely to happen if I do? What's likely to happen if I don't? And then you decide. And there'll be times where you do have to intercede without them asking for advice. The point is that once you ask the question, you're going to make much better choices.